Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial. And today we're going to talk about one of the significant structures in the life of Battleship New Jersey. This is Drydock number 3 at the Philadelphia Navy Yard. Originally, the Navy Yard was operated by the U.S. Navy, but in recent years, most of the yard has been turned over to the city of Philadelphia for urban development. And a couple of the large dry docks are run by private companies. So this, Drydock number 3, is where Battleship New Jersey was originally built, and it is where she was reactivated in 1967 for the Vietnam War. So Battleship New Jersey was built on a slipway, and when she was launched from the slipway, she was a stern-first launch. And a lot of objects were not on board yet. After 2 years of construction, the ship was far from complete. Things like the rudders and propellers were not installed prior to launching so that they don't get damaged as the ship rolls down the ways into the water for the first time. So as soon as she makes into the water, the tugboats pick her up and they bring her here into the dry dock. And then she is sat down on over 200 4-ton blocks to support the weight of the ship. Then these underwater fittings could be installed and the ship could be floated out and taken to a fitting out basin to have next to a crane where things like the guns, the fire control systems, and final equipment can be loaded before she's accepted by the Navy for active service. Iowa-class battleships were the heaviest battleships built by the United States, and because the aft end of the ship, where a lot of the weight for the armor plating and the after turret sits, have to be supported by the twin skegs that hold the inboard propellers. So that is a tremendous amount of weight to be held by just two structures. The weight of the ship is then transferred through the keel blocks into the structure of the slipway where she was built, or the dry dock where she was dry docked afterwards. So the Philadelphia Navy Yard had to specifically modify the slipways and the dry dock between when Battleship Washington was completed here and when Battleship New Jersey was laid down. This unique feature of the Iowa-class battleship means that there are a very, very small number of dry docks in the world that an Iowa-class battleship could go to. Battleship New Jersey is very fortunate in that if she ever needs underwater work, she's located less than 2 miles up the Delaware River, the former Philadelphia shipyard, and Drydock number 3, which we obviously know can take her. The museum has already been in talks with the company that runs Drydock number 3 to get an estimate to dry dock the ship within the next decade. This project will easily top $10 million. When Missouri was dry docked back in 2009, it cost about $18 million. That was at Drydock number 4 at the Pearl Harbor Naval Shipyard, and obviously we aren't going all the way back there. So that gives you a reasonable cost estimate for the scope of work. So obviously it's going to take us, the museum, a couple of years to raise that sort of money, and you don't decide you're going to dry dock a ship and take it in the next day. It's going to be years and years of planning and preparation to get to that point. So you're not going to see an Iowa-class battleship out of the water in the next year, but maybe in a couple of years. The Navy expects museum ships to dry dock every 20 years. An active duty ship is closer to every 2 to 5 years, but a permanently moored vessel can get away with a lot less. The last time Battleship New Jersey was dry docked was in 1990 when she was being mothballed. So it has been basically my entire lifetime. It's been over 30 years since she has been out of the water. The entire 20-year operation of the museum, she has not been dry docked yet. So that is something that we are already thinking about and planning for. Following launching and her first dry docking period where she received her rudders and propellers, Battleship New Jersey was brought over here to the fitting out pier at the Philadelphia Navy Yard, where the aircraft carrier John F. Kennedy is currently moored, awaiting final disposal. This week we're at the Navy Yard stripping parts off of some of the inactive ships here to keep New Jersey going, and we ran into a group from the new aircraft carrier Kennedy, still 3 years away from completion, part of her pre-commissioning crew, which are also taking parts off of Kennedy to use as heritage items in the construction of the new Kennedy. The fitting out pier originally had a huge crane capable of lifting over 500 tons on it. And this is where the ship's 16-inch guns would have been brought out of the gun foundry on railroad tracks, brought down to that crane and dropped into their barbettes, among many other final installation pieces. The bulk of her superstructure and funnels were there, but the fire control positions and guns, all the guns, basically anything that slots into the ship and rotates. New Jersey, at the time of her launch, was the heaviest warship, or the heaviest ship period, launched stern first in the Americas. That honor was taken by Wisconsin a year later. Normally, when a battleship is constructed, it is launched and then the armor and guns and everything else are installed. Because the Iowa-class battleships have an internal belt, it had to be installed on construction, which meant that the ship being launched was significantly heavier than other battleships. Even though the Iowas were designed to be 10,000 tons heavier and significantly longer, the sheer fact of having all of the weight of the armor installed already at launch made them incredibly heavy. And that's another reason why the dry docks and the slipways had to be reinforced before these ships were installed or had construction begin. Thanks for watching. Battleship New Jersey receives operating support from the New Jersey Department of State and also from a number of businesses and private institutions and private individuals like yourselves. And those donations have been critical for the YouTube channel, and they will be critical going forward for major work like we hope to accomplish. It will be historic to bring the battleship back here to her birthplace, and we hope you'll be a part of that story too. Another way to support us is by liking, sharing, and subscribing. This will not only help other people hear about our channel, but it'll let you know when we're posting all of our content. Thanks for watching.